My son said he needed a small favor before midnight. Just a signature. Just a form. Everyone does this, he said. I signed nothing. Instead, I packed one bag and left. When they woke up the next morning, the house was quiet, and the mail had already arrived. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It started 3 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are when I do inventory at the municipal facilities yard where I work. 23 years as a maintenance logistics coordinator. Not glamorous, not exciting, just reliable. That's what everyone says about me. Reliable Tom. Steady Tom. Tom who shows up, does the work, goes home. My son Kevin called during lunch. I was eating a sandwich in my truck, looking at repair schedules on my tablet. The call itself wasn't unusual. Kevin called maybe once a week, usually about nothing important. Sports, weather, whatever. Hey, Dad, got a minute? Sure. What's up? I wanted to run something by you. Can we come by tonight? Me and Lisa? Lisa, his wife, married 2 years now, sharp woman, always polite, always watching. I'd noticed that about her early on, the way she'd track a conversation like someone reading a technical manual, looking for the part that mattered. Tonight works, I said. Your mom's at book club until 9. Perfect. We'll bring dinner. Say 6? Sounds good. He hung up. I finished my sandwich, went back to work, logged maintenance requests for 3 broken HVAC units in the courthouse annex, approved a supply order for the parks department, sent an email about winter road salt delivery schedules. Normal day. Denise got home from her office job at 5:30. She works in medical billing, organized, efficient. We've been married 28 years, not passionate, not cold, just steady. Like me. Kevin's coming for dinner, I told her. She looked up from sorting mail. Both of them? Yeah. That was it. Just, But I knew what it meant. Denise had noticed the same thing I had over the past 6 months. Kevin and Lisa didn't just drop by anymore. They scheduled, they planned. Every visit had a purpose. 6 o'clock exactly, the doorbell rang. Kevin came in carrying bags from that Italian place downtown. Lisa followed with a folder under her arm. Not a purse, a folder. We ate at the kitchen table. Pasta, salad, garlic bread. Kevin talked about his job at the telecommunications company, some project about fiber optic infrastructure. I nodded, asked questions. Denise watched Lisa, who smiled and added little comments that somehow redirected every topic back to Kevin. Halfway through dinner, I noticed Kevin checking his watch. Got somewhere to be? I asked. No, just, we wanted to talk to you about something before it gets too late. I'm listening. He glanced at Lisa. She gave him a tiny nod. So, Kevin said, we've been working with a financial planner, getting our future sorted out. Estate planning, asset protection, that kind of thing. Smart, I said. Yeah, and part of what she recommended, our planner, is setting up what's called an asset transfer framework. Basically, it makes things easier down the line, tax-wise, inheritance-wise. I set down my fork. Down the line. Well, yeah, I mean, not like anything's going to happen, but you know, eventually. It's just smart to have everything organized. Denise had stopped eating. She was looking at the folder Lisa had placed on the edge of the table. What exactly are we talking about? I asked. Lisa spoke for the first time in 10 minutes. It's really straightforward, Tom. Kevin explained it poorly. She smiled, warm, apologetic. What it is a beneficiary designation update. You're already listed as the primary beneficiary on Kevin's retirement accounts and insurance. This just streamlines the secondary designations and adds some distribution instructions. Secondary to what? To the primary estate framework. She opened the folder, pulled out a document, maybe 10 pages stapled. It's boilerplate. Our attorney uses the same template for everyone. I didn't reach for it. Kevin jumped in. The thing is, there's a filing deadline, end of the quarter. If we don't submit it by midnight tonight, we have to wait another 3 months, and the tax year gets complicated. Midnight tonight. Yeah, I know it's last minute, I'm sorry. We meant to do this earlier, but things got busy and… Let me see it. Lisa slid the document across the table. I picked it up, scanned the first page. Legal language. Dense. I'm not a lawyer, but I've read enough maintenance contracts to know what normal bureaucratic writing looks like. This was different. Not just formal. Deliberately opaque. Can I take some time with this? I asked. Kevin's smile tightened. Just a fraction. Sure, I mean, how much time? However long it takes to read 10 pages. Right, of course, it's just… The deadline. Is at midnight, I said. It's 6:45. Denise stood. Started clearing plates. The silence stretched. I flipped through the pages. Terms I recognized. Irrevocable. Sole discretion. Transfer of authority. Terms I didn't. Administrative succession. Conditional vesting. Secondary custodial designation. On page 7, there was a section titled Acknowledgement of Understanding. It required my signature in 3 places. What does administrative succession mean? I asked. Lisa answered immediately. Too immediately. It's just the order of who handles things if the primary person can't. Like, if Kevin couldn't manage his own accounts for some reason, who steps in? It's standard. And that person would be, well, naturally his spouse first. Then a designated financial representative. Then you, as a backup. So I'm third. It's just procedural ranking, Kevin said. It doesn't mean anything in practice. I kept reading. On page 8, there was a clause about relinquishment of claim to contested assets. Another on page 9 about waiver of notification rights. What am I waiving notification rights to? Kevin looked at Lisa. She looked at me. It's about streamlining administrative updates. So if account details change, like bank routing numbers or fund allocations, we don't have to send you formal notices every time. It just cuts down on paperwork. Paperwork you'd send to me. Right. About Kevin's accounts. Yes. That I'm the beneficiary of. Backup beneficiary, Lisa corrected gently. Denise had stopped moving. She was standing by the sink, dish in hand, not washing it. Just holding it. I set the document down. I need to think about this. Kevin's face changed. Not anger. Something closer to panic, quickly smoothed over. Dad, I get it, I do. But the deadline… Is it midnight, you said? Right, and it's already… He checked his watch. Almost 7. We still have to drive to the notary, get everything witnessed and filed electronically. If we're going to make it… Why does this need to be filed tonight? Silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind where someone's deciding what version of the truth to tell. Lisa spoke first. The fiscal year structure for Kevin's company changed this quarter. If we don't lock in the current designation framework by the deadline, his accounts get automatically recategorized under the new compliance rules. It's complicated. So if you miss tonight, what happens? We wait 3 months, refile under different rules, pay higher administrative fees, possibly trigger a tax review. How much higher? She hesitated. The fees or the potential tax impact? Both. Fees could be a few thousand. Tax impact depends on how the review goes. I picked up the document again, flipped back to page 3. There was a paragraph I'd missed, buried in the middle of a section about conditional authority transfers. It said that by signing, I acknowledged receipt of full disclosure documentation, provided separately. What's the full disclosure documentation? I asked. Kevin blinked. What? Page 3. Says I'm acknowledging receipt of full disclosure documentation provided separately. I haven't received anything separately. Lisa reached for the folder, pulled out another document, single page, handed it to me. It was a list, titled Associated Account Summary. Maybe 15 line items, account numbers, institution names, balance amounts. Some of the numbers had 7 digits before the decimal. These are Kevin's accounts? I asked. Yes, Lisa said. Some of these are retirement funds. Some are, investment accounts? Correct. And this one. I pointed to a line near the bottom. This says Property Holding LLC. What property? Kevin shifted in his chair. It's the rental units Lisa and I bought last year, the duplex in Riverside. I remembered that. They'd asked for investment advice. I'd told them to be careful with rental properties. Market was volatile. Maintenance costs add up. They'd smiled and nodded and bought it anyway. And this LLC, I said. Who owns it? Technically, it's structured as a shared asset vehicle. Me, Lisa, and, there's a third member, for tax reasons. Who? Another glance between them. Your name is on it, Lisa said. As a passive member, 10% equity. It was the most tax-efficient structure. I set the paper down, very carefully. My name is on an LLC I don't know about. You signed the formation documents, Kevin said quickly. Remember? Last year. I brought them by. Said it was just paperwork for the rental purchase. I did remember. Vaguely. Kevin had brought papers. Said something about co-signing. I'd signed because he was my son and it was just paperwork. That was for an LLC. Right. With my name on it. As a passive member, you're not liable for anything. It just helps with the tax structure. Denise finally moved. She set the dish down, walked over, looked at the account summary, then at the main document, then at Kevin. What does this actually do? She asked. Kevin started to answer, but Lisa cut in. It updates Tom's designation from active backup to passive backup, removes some administrative redundancies, makes sure the LLC structure doesn't create conflicts if there's ever an estate question. Passive backup, Denise repeated, meaning Tom stays listed but doesn't have to manage anything. It's cleaner. Cleaner for who? No one answered. I read the whole document, every page, every clause. Took me 40 minutes. Kevin checked his watch maybe 10 times. Lisa sat perfectly still, hands folded. The more I read, the less I understood. And I knew that was intentional. This wasn't meant to be understood. It was meant to be signed. On page 9, near the bottom, there was a section about dispute resolution. It said any disagreement about account management or asset distribution would be handled through binding arbitration with an arbitrator selected by the primary account holder, Kevin, or more likely, Lisa. I flipped back to page 1, read it again, then page 7, then 9. There was a pattern. Every clause that looked like it protected me had a sub-clauses that took it away. Every right I seemed to keep came with a waiver attached. I'm not signing this, I said. Kevin's face went white. Dad, not tonight. But the deadline is your problem, not mine. Lisa leaned forward, still calm, still smiling. Tom, I understand this feels rushed. It is rushed. That's our fault. But I promise you, this document doesn't change anything that matters. You're still Kevin's father. You're still the person he trusts. This is just administrative structure. Then it can wait 3 months. The tax implications are your problem, I said again. Kevin stood up. Dad, please, I know this is a lot. I know we should have explained it better. But we need this. Tonight. Why? I told you. The deadline. Not the filing deadline. Why do you need this? What happens if I don't sign? He didn't answer. I looked at Lisa. She met my eyes. Steady. Unblinking. What happens, I asked her, if I don't sign tonight? She took a breath. Let it out. The LLC structure becomes contested. Your passive membership creates an ambiguity. If that happens, the bank holding the mortgage on the rental property can trigger a compliance review. If they do that during a recategorization period, they have the right to call the loan. Call the loan. Demand full payment. How much? $340,000. The room went very quiet. "And you don't have $340,000, I said. Kevin sat back down, put his head in his hands. Lisa's smile finally faded. "We have equity. We have assets. We can manage it. But it would be difficult." Difficult. "Yes." I stood up, picked up the document, the account summary, the single-page disclosure. "I need to think about this," I said. "Dad," Kevin's voice cracked. "Please, just, please." I looked at my son. 29 years old, good job, nice house, married to a woman who thought 3 steps ahead and didn't blink when she lied. I looked at Denise. She was staring at the folder on the table like it was a bomb. "I'll let you know," I said. I walked out of the kitchen, went upstairs, sat on the bed. Downstairs, I heard voices. Urgent. Lisa's calm and steady, Kevin's desperate, Denise's too quiet to make out. I looked at the document again, really looked. It wasn't about taxes, it wasn't about efficiency, it was about control. If I signed this, I gave up any claim to anything Kevin owned. I waived my right to know what happened to it. I made myself a ghost in his financial life, present enough to provide legal cover, invisible enough to be ignored. And once I signed, I couldn't undo it. Irrevocable appeared 6 times in 10 pages. I heard the front door open. Close. Kevin's car started, pulled away. Denise came upstairs 10 minutes later. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know." She sat next to me. We didn't touch, just sat. "He's your son," she said. "I know. But that—" She gestured at the papers. "That's not a favor." "No. That's a trap." I didn't argue. We sat there until her book club time. She left. I stayed. At 9:30, Kevin called. I didn't answer. He called again at 10, then 10:15. At 10:45, Lisa called. I let it go to voicemail. At 11:30, I made my decision. I went downstairs, got my old duffel bag from the basement, packed clothes, toiletries, my tablet, chargers, the document and account summary, my checkbook, cash from the emergency drawer. I wrote a note, left it on the kitchen table. "Gone for a few days. Need to think. Don't worry." At 11:50, I walked out to my truck, started it, backed out of the driveway. My phone buzzed. Kevin, then Lisa, then Kevin again. I turned off my phone. At midnight, I was 40 miles away, sitting in a highway rest stop, drinking bad coffee from a vending machine. I didn't sign the document, and now they had a problem. Before we go any further, hit the hype button, take a second to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? I slept in my truck that night, parked at the rest stop until dawn, then drove to a motel off Route 34, the kind of place with weekly rates and no questions, paid cash. The clerk was half asleep and didn't look up when I signed the register. Room 118, ground floor, 1 bed, 1 table, bathroom with a dripping faucet. I locked the door, drew the curtains, and sat on the bed with the document spread in front of me. Now that I had time, real time, without Kevin checking his watch or Lisa's smile holding steady, I read it again, slowly, with a pen and notebook. The first thing I noticed, the document wasn't actually titled. The header said, "Beneficiary Designation Update and Administrative Succession Framework," but no form number, no revision date, no law firm name at the bottom, despite Lisa mentioning an attorney. I flipped to the signature page. It had spaces for my signature, a witness signature, and a notary seal, but the notary section was pre-filled with a name and commission number, not blank, pre-filled. That meant they'd already selected the notary, already scheduled the appointment. This wasn't a last-minute scramble. This was planned. I made a list in the notebook. Questions. Why tonight specifically? What triggers the compliance review Lisa mentioned? Who is the third LLC member really? What are the associated accounts actually for? Why does the notary section have a name already? Then I made another list. What I know. My name is on an LLC I barely remember signing for. That LLC owns a rental property with a $340K mortgage. If I don't sign, the loan can be called. If I do sign, I lose any claim or oversight. Kevin is desperate. Lisa is not. I circled that last point. Lisa wasn't desperate. She was controlled, precise. That meant she had a backup plan, or she knew something Kevin didn't. My phone was still off. I'd left it that way intentionally, but around 8 in the morning I turned it on just long enough to check messages. 17 missed calls. Kevin, Lisa, Denise. 9 voicemails. 12 texts. I didn't listen to the voicemails, didn't read the texts, just noted the count and turned the phone back off. They were panicking. Good. I needed information. The document referenced full disclosure documentation provided separately, but the single-page account summary wasn't enough. It was a list of numbers with no context. I needed to know what those accounts actually were. At 9 o'clock, I drove to the main branch of First National, the bank listed on 3 of the account lines. I parked across the street and watched the entrance for 20 minutes, just watching, learning the rhythm. This is something I learned in maintenance logistics. Before you fix a problem, you observe the system. You watch how things flow, who comes and goes, what the patterns are. You don't rush in with a wrench and start turning bolts. At 9:30, I walked in. Approached the customer service desk. A young woman with a name tag that said, Brittany, smiled at me. How can I help you today? I need to verify some account information, I said. My son has me listed as a beneficiary, and I want to make sure everything's current. Of course. Do you have the account numbers? I showed her the account summary, pointed to one of the First National lines. She typed, frowned, typed again. This account is business classified, she said. I can confirm it exists, but I can't provide details without authorization from the primary account holder. I'm listed as a secondary. Not on this account. Would you like me to check if you're listed on any personal accounts? Please, she typed, waited, shook her head. I'm not seeing your name in our system. What's your son's name? Kevin Driscoll. More typing. I have a Kevin Driscoll with a checking account and a savings account. Both are joint accounts with Lisa Driscoll. No secondary designations. What about beneficiary designations? Those are internal flags. I can't access them from this terminal. You'd need to speak with an estate planning specialist. Can I make an appointment? Absolutely. Our next available is Thursday afternoon. Today was Wednesday. That works, I said. She booked it, gave me a confirmation number. I thanked her and left. In my truck, I made another note. Kevin's personal accounts don't list me at all. The beneficiary designation is a lie, or it's for accounts I don't know about yet. I drove to a FedEx store, used their computer to log into my personal email, not on my phone, where it could be traced easily, and searched for anything from Kevin in the past year. Found the LLC formation documents. Opened them. The operating agreement was 8 pages. I'd signed on page 7. I remembered now. Kevin had flagged the signature line with a sticky tab, said it was just acknowledgement that I'd reviewed the structure. I'd signed without reading the full document because I trusted him. Stupid. I read it now. The LLC was called Riverside Property Holdings, LLC. 3 members. Kevin Driscoll, 45% equity. Lisa Driscoll, 45% equity. Thomas Driscoll, 10% equity. But my equity was listed as non-voting, passive interest. I had no management authority, no decision-making power. I was just there, a name on paper. The purpose of the LLC was listed as real estate investment and asset management. Not just the duplex. Any real estate, any assets. I scrolled down to the financial provisions. There was a clause about capital calls. If the LLC needed money, for repairs, mortgages, whatever, Each member could be required to contribute their share. For me, that was 10% of any amount they decided. If a member didn't pay, they could be forced to sell their equity. The price would be fair market value as determined by majority vote. Kevin and Lisa together had 90%. They were the majority. They could force me to pay into something I didn't control, and if I didn't, they could buy me out for whatever they decided was fair. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the dissolution clause. If the LLC was dissolved, assets would be distributed according to equity percentages, but only after all debts were paid. And there was a subclause. Any member with non-voting passive equity waives first claim to asset distribution and agrees to subordinated position in debt settlement priority. Translation: if the LLC went under, Kevin and Lisa got paid first. I got whatever was left, which, if there were debts, would be nothing, and I'd signed it. I printed the document, all 8 pages, paid cash for the printing, left. Back in the motel room, I laid everything out. The original document Kevin brought, the account summary, the LLC operating agreement, my notes. I drew lines connecting them. The LLC made me legally liable, but gave me no control. The beneficiary designation update removed me from any oversight of Kevin's accounts. Together, they created a structure where I was responsible for anything that went wrong, but had no power to prevent it or benefit if things went right. It was elegant in a way. Cruel, but elegant. My phone buzzed. Still off, technically, but I'd turned it on again to check something. A text from Denise. "Where are you? Kevin's been here twice. He says you're not answering. Are you okay?" I typed back, "I'm fine. Need a few days. Don't tell him where I am." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "He's frantic. Says it's urgent. It's always urgent with him." The dots stopped. Then, "Okay." Just that. "Okay." Denise wasn't stupid. She'd been quiet during the dinner, but she'd been listening. She'd seen the same things I had, and she was giving me space. I turned the phone off again. That afternoon, I drove to the Riverside neighborhood where Kevin's rental property was. Found the duplex. It was a decent-looking building, 2 units side by side. Both had cars in the driveway. Tenants, presumably. I parked down the street and watched for a while, trying to understand what I was looking at. The property was worth something. Market value in this neighborhood, probably $400,000. Maybe more. The mortgage was $340,000. That meant about $60,000 in equity, split according to the LLC percentages. My 10%, $6,000. That's what my signature on the operating agreement had bought me. $6,000 in equity I couldn't access, and liability I couldn't escape. I took photos of the building, the address, the condition. Then I drove away. By evening, I was back in the motel. I ordered pizza from a place that delivered, ate half, saved the rest, sat at the table with my notes and tried to think like Lisa. She was the architect here. Kevin was just the delivery mechanism. He was emotional, reactive. She was cold, planned. Everything about the timing, the pressure, the midnight deadline, that was her. So what was her goal? Control, obviously. But control of what? I looked at the account summary again. 15 accounts. Total value, if I added up the balances. Just over $900,000. That was a lot. More than I expected. Kevin made good money, but not that good. Where did $900,000 come from? I made another note. Source of funds. Then another. Why now? Kevin had been married to Lisa for 2 years. Why push this framework tonight? Why the urgency? I didn't have an answer yet, but I knew how to get one. I needed to talk to someone who understood financial structures, someone neutral, someone who wouldn't tip off Kevin or Lisa. I thought about my options, didn't have many. Most of my friends were work guys, maintenance, logistics, city employees. None of them knew finance. Then I remembered Gary. Gary Chen worked in the city comptroller's office, We'd crossed paths a few times on budget reviews. He was quiet, detail-oriented, obsessive about numbers. And he owed me a favor. I'd helped him track down a billing error that saved the city about $15,000 last year. I turned on my phone, found Gary's number, sent a text. Need advice on a financial document. Can you look at something confidentially? He replied 10 minutes later, Sure. When? Tomorrow morning? Coffee at Marlowe's, 8 a.m. See you there. I turned the phone off. That night, I barely slept, kept running through scenarios. What if Kevin showed up at the motel? He didn't know where I was, but he could guess. Route 34 was the main highway out of town. There were only 3 motels along this stretch. I got up twice to check the parking lot. Empty except for my truck and 2 other vehicles. At 7 the next morning, I showered, dressed, and drove to Marlowe's, a coffee shop near the municipal complex. Arrived early. Sat in the back corner where I could see the entrance. Gary showed up at 8 exactly. Tall, thin, wire-rimmed glasses, carrying a leather folder. He ordered black coffee, sat across from me. You look like hell, he said. Thanks. What's going on? I slid the document across the table. Tell me what this actually does. He opened it, read the first page, flipped to the second. His expression didn't change, but he started reading slower. After 5 minutes, he set it down. Where did you get this? My son. He wants me to sign it. Don't. I didn't, but I need to understand why. Gary pulled out a pen, started marking sections. This isn't a beneficiary designation. It's a power transfer. See this clause? He pointed to page 4. This gives the primary account holder, your son, unilateral authority to redesignate assets without your consent. You're acknowledging that you've waived notification rights, which means he can do whatever he wants and you won't know. Lisa said it was about streamlining paperwork. It is. It streamlines you right out of the picture. He flipped to page 7. And this section, the dispute resolution clause, means if you ever try to challenge anything, you can't sue. You have to go to arbitration with an arbitrator he chooses. You'd lose before you started. So if I sign this, you give up any claim to anything. Legally, you become irrelevant. I sat back. Why would he want that? Gary closed the document, looked at me. You're listed on something. An account, a property, something, and he needs you off it. This is the cleanest way to do that without triggering flags. What kind of flags? Depends. Could be tax-related, could be legal, could be... He hesitated. Could be what? Could be he's moving money and doesn't want you to see it. I told him about the LLC, the rental property, the account summary. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he drummed his fingers on the table. Okay, he said. Here's what I think. Your son and his wife have structured things so you're legally tied to their assets but functionally powerless. If something goes wrong, a lawsuit, a tax audit, whatever, your name is on the paperwork. You're exposed, but you can't do anything about it. And if I sign this document? You confirm that you're okay with that. You waive any future claim that you didn't know what was happening. It's legal cover for them. What should I do? Gary leaned forward. Get a lawyer. Today. Show them everything. And don't sign anything else. I don't want to escalate this. He's my son. Then you're going to get screwed. We sat in silence. Finally, Gary said, Look, I don't know your family situation, but this document is hostile. Whoever drafted it knows exactly what they're doing, and they're counting on you not asking questions. I'm asking now. Good. Keep asking. He stood, handed me back the document. If you need help, he said, call me. But seriously, get a lawyer. I thanked him. He left. I sat there for another 20 minutes, drinking cold coffee, staring at the document. Then I made a decision. I wasn't going to get a lawyer. Not yet. Because a lawyer would turn this into a legal fight, And legal fights leave trails. I needed to stay invisible a little longer. I needed to understand what Kevin and Lisa were really doing, and I needed leverage. I drove back to the motel, sat at the table, opened my notebook, started making a plan. Friday morning, I met Mike at a diner off Route 34. Neutral ground. Somewhere Lisa wouldn't think to look. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in a booth by the window, nursing a coffee. He looked wary. Couldn't blame him. I was basically a stranger asking him to get involved in something he didn't fully understand. I slid into the booth across from him, ordered coffee from the waitress, waited until she left. "Thanks for meeting me," I said. "Yeah, so what's this about?" "The property you're renting. It's being sold." "I know. Lisa told me." "What did she tell you exactly?" He shrugged. "That they found a buyer. That the new owner would probably keep us as tenants, or offer us some money to move out early." "How much money?" "She didn't say. Just said it would be fair." I nodded. "Mike, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm one of the owners of that property. 10%. And I'm being pushed out by the other owners, including Lisa. They're selling without my full consent, and they're doing it fast because they need the money." He frowned. "Okay, but what does that have to do with me?" "If you refuse to cooperate with the sale, refuse showings, refuse to move out early, the buyer will back out, the sale falls through, and the other owners have a problem." He set down his coffee. "You want me to sabotage the sale? I want you to exercise your rights as a tenant. You have a lease through March. That lease is a legal contract. They can't force you out without cause." "But they can offer me money to leave." "They can, but you don't have to take it." He leaned back, looked at me. "Why would I do that? What's in it for me?" "Fair question." "How much is Lisa offering you?" I asked. "She hasn't made an official offer yet, but she said probably 2,000. I'll give you 5. His eyebrows went up. $5,000? Cash. If you refuse the sale cooperation. And if I say no? Then you take Lisa's 2,000 and move out, and I lose everything." He thought about it, drummed his fingers on the table. "What exactly would I have to do?" he asked. "Nothing illegal. Just exercise your lease rights. Decline showings unless they give you proper notice, which, legally, is usually 48 hours. If they offer cash for keys, decline. If they pressure you, document it. Record it if you can. And you'll pay me 5,000. Half now. Half when the sale falls through." He thought about it some more. "How do I know the sale will fall through?" he asked. "If you don't cooperate, the buyer won't want the hassle. Trust me." He looked out the window, watched cars go by. Finally, he said, "Okay, but I want 3,000 up front." "Deal." We shook hands. I went to an ATM, withdrew 3,000 in cash, the maximum my account would allow in one day. Came back, handed it to him in an envelope. "Thank you," I said. He pocketed the envelope. "This better not blow back on me." "It won't." He left. I sat there for a while, drinking coffee, thinking. I'd just committed to paying Mike $5,000 I didn't really have. Well, I had it, in savings in retirement, but it wasn't liquid. And I'd need to pull it out without Denise knowing. But that was a problem for later. Right now, I had leverage. I called the tenant in Unit B, the woman whose name I'd learned was Grace Kim. She answered, "Hello? Grace, this is Tom Driscoll. We met earlier this week." "Oh, yes, the inspection." "Right. I wanted to talk to you about the property sale." Pause. "Okay. Lisa told you about it?" "Yes. She said I could stay or move out early." "Did she offer you money to move out?" "Not yet, but she said she would." "If she does, I'd like to make you a counteroffer. Stay through your lease. Decline early move out. I'll pay you $5,000. Longer pause. "Why?" she asked. "Because I'm trying to stop the sale." "Why?" Because I'm being pushed out of the ownership structure, and this is the only way I can fight back. Silence. Then, I don't want to be in the middle of this. I understand, but you're already in the middle. The question is whether you get paid for it. She sighed. I need to think about it. Fair enough. Think about it. But if Lisa makes an offer, call me before you accept. Okay. She hung up. I sat back. 2 tenants. One committed, one thinking about it. That's when they'd panic. That's when I'd have them. Friday afternoon, I drove to a UPS store, rented a P.O. box under a fake name, paid cash. Then I went to a print shop, made copies of everything again. All the documents, all the emails, all my notes, mailed 1 set to the P.O. box, kept 1 set in my truck, put 1 set back in the storage unit. Now I had 4 copies, distributed, safe. If something happened to me, if Lisa or Kevin tried something stupid, the documents would still exist. That night, I checked my temporary email. Message from Lisa. Tom, I know what you're doing. The tenants called me. This is illegal. You're interfering with a lawful business transaction. Stop now, or I'll file an injunction. I replied, Lisa, I'm exercising my rights as a member. The tenants are exercising their rights as tenants. Nothing illegal about that. If you want to avoid complications, let's talk. Tom. No response. Saturday morning, my phone rang. Real phone, not the burner. Denise. I answered. Tom? Hey. Where are you? Around. Kevin called again. He's a mess. He wants to know when you're coming home. I don't know yet. Tom, what is going on? You've been gone for 2 weeks. You won't tell me where you are. Kevin won't tell me what happened, and I'm stuck in the middle. I know. I'm sorry. That's not good enough. She was right. It wasn't. Denise, I said, I need you to trust me. Just a little longer. I'm handling something, and when it's done, I'll explain everything. Is it about money? It's about Kevin and Lisa and the way they've been treating me. Pause. Are they in trouble? She asked. They might be. Did you do something? No, but I'm about to. She was quiet for a long time. Then, be careful. I will. She hung up. I sat there, felt a twinge of guilt. Denise didn't deserve this. She'd been patient, steady, like always. But I couldn't bring her into it. Not yet. If things went wrong, I didn't want her implicated. Saturday afternoon, I drove back to the duplex, parked down the street, watched. At 2 o'clock, a car pulled up. Realtor's car, based on the magnetic sign on the door. A woman got out, mid-40s, professional, carrying a tablet. Lisa pulled up a minute later, got out, greeted the realtor. They walked up to Unit A, knocked. Mike opened the door, shook his head, said something I couldn't hear. The realtor looked confused. Lisa looked angry. They talked for a minute. Mike stayed firm. Closed the door. Lisa and the realtor stood there. The realtor made a call. Lisa paced. After a few minutes, they gave up, got in their cars, left. I smiled. Mike was holding the line. Sunday, I got an email from Grace Kim. Mr. Driscoll, I've decided to accept your offer. I will not move out early. Please send the payment to my Venmo. Grace. She included her Venmo handle. I didn't have Venmo. I'm 56 and not great with apps. But I figured it out. Downloaded the app, linked my bank account, sent her $3,000 with a note. First half, thanks. She confirmed receipt. Now both tenants were locked in. All I had to do was wait for Lisa to realize it. Monday morning, the property listing went live. I found it online. Charming duplex in Riverside, investment opportunity, $470,000. Photos of the exterior, generic description, contact info for the realtor. Comments were enabled on the listing. I posted one anonymously. Be aware, current tenants have indicated they will not cooperate with early move-out. Buyer should verify lease terms before proceeding. Posted it, refreshed the page. The comment stayed up for an hour, then disappeared. Deleted by the realtor, probably. But I'd made my point. Tuesday, I got a text from Kevin. Real number, not Lisa's. "Dad, please, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand." I replied, "I'm listening." "Can we meet? Tomorrow?" "Where?" "The house. Mom's at work. Just you and me." I thought about it. It could be a trap. Lisa could be there, could be planning something. But Kevin sounded desperate, and desperate Kevin was, honest Kevin. "Okay," I replied. Noon. "Thanks, Dad." Wednesday, I drove to the house. My house, the one I'd left 2 weeks ago. Pulled into the driveway. Kevin's car was there. No other cars. I walked to the front door. It was unlocked. Went inside. Kevin was in the kitchen, sitting at the table, head in his hands. "Hey," I said. He looked up, eyes red. "Dad." I sat down across from him. "What's going on?" I asked. "The sale fell through," he said. "The buyer backed out, said the tenants were uncooperative, and he didn't want the hassle." "I see." "And the stock dropped, down to $13 a share. I'm barely breaking even now." "And Lisa's furious. She thinks you sabotaged everything." "Did I?" He looked at me. "Did you?" I didn't answer. He put his head back in his hands. "I don't know what to do." "Tell me the truth," I said. "All of it. Why did you really need that money?" He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "We're in debt. Lisa and me. A lot of debt." "How much?" 200,000. Maybe more. I blinked. "How?" "Credit cards, personal loans. We've been living above our means. Lisa wanted the nice house, the nice car, the image, and I went along with it. And the stock options were supposed to fix it." "Yeah, if they'd held at $15, we would have made enough to clear everything. But now you're stuck." He nodded. I sat back. Looked at my son. Really looked. He was broken, lost, and Lisa had led him there. "Kevin," I said, "you need to leave her." He looked up, shocked. "What?" "Lisa. She's the problem, not the money. Her." "Dad, I can't just—" "You can, you should. She's toxic, she's manipulative, and she's dragging you down." But nothing. You're my son, and I'm not going to watch you destroy yourself for someone who doesn't care about you." He stared at me, eyes welling up. "What do I do?" he whispered. "You start by being honest. With me. With yourself. And then you figure out what you want your life to look like. Without her." He broke down, sobbed. I reached across the table, put my hand on his. We sat there for a long time. Finally, he pulled himself together. "I'm sorry, Dad," he said, "for everything." "I know. Can you help me?" "Yes." He nodded, wiped his eyes. "What do I do first?" he asked. I thought about it. "First," I said, "you tell Lisa you're done. Done with the lies, done with the schemes, and done with her control. She'll fight me. Let her. You've got me now." He smiled, weak but real. "Okay," he said. We stood up, hugged. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I had my son back. But Lisa wasn't going to let go that easily, and I knew it.